Welcome, Madridistas. How are you all doing? We're going to make a quick video with the latest news, and we're going to talk about this situation with Congo and Barça, which is being talked about very little. We'll get to that in a moment, but first, something that Fabrizio Romano has published in the last hour, and that's that Real Madrid would include an extra year in Jose Mourinho's contract until 2029, since there has been talk of 2028, meaning a 2-year contract with a third optional and extendable year. Careful, because of course all of this is being discussed. And as Fabrizio Romano says here, everything is already approved and Mourinho will be in Madrid next week. And that everything is absolutely confirmed, depending on an electoral process. But although I understand that Madrid could already sign their next coach, but I understand that the electoral process, which seems like it will start because Enrique Riquelme is going to run, would delay this a little bit, right? And then there's the debate indeed about whether, although I think everyone agrees on Mourinho, if that's really what Real Madrid needs right now. I've always said, as you know, that from a sporting perspective, maybe he's not the ideal or dream coach for me at this moment. But to start working on cohesion and unity in the locker room, getting rid of the bad influences and so on, I think he's the best. Well, so that's the latest update about that extension, that third extra year in Mourinho's contract, which will be signed soon, very soon. Well, now we'll talk a bit more about Madrid, but first this about Barça, because it's incredible, right? The Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office received a complaint about corruption, money laundering, and embezzlement tied to the Barça sponsorship deal with the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The complainants are requesting an investigation be opened against Barça, its directors, and the Minister of Sports Didier Boudimbu, the Minister of Sports of the Congo. The Monaco Prosecutor's Office launched a corruption, money laundering, and embezzlement investigation into the sponsorship agreement between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Monaco in March. Barça signed a very similar sponsorship agreement. The Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office received a complaint against Barça over corruption, money laundering, and human rights concerns related to signing agreements with that country. Hold on. Let's see now. The sponsorship income for Barça has been very good for us because we are in an economic situation between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and...
Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, democratic corruption. Normality is not having suffered as many sanctions as we do at the Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office. They have to be done. Well, they filed a complaint about democratic corruption in Catalonia. Let's see, he's not going to Monaco either. Look, so you don't have to go through this moment. I'll tell you that basically what he said was...
They're bothered by every country that doesn't respect human rights. Since violations occur everywhere, we couldn't make agreements with anyone otherwise. He has been admitted, it hasn't gone very well. A politician's usual response: denounce democratic corruption. Human rights are violated everywhere, but that would prevent us from making any agreements. The income has worked out well for us. Well, the typical thing a politician always did, like with the Super Cup in Arabia, right? We were very dignified and all that until the Super Cup in Arabia, right? We were very dignified and all that until the Arabs offered us a lot of money, right? The Spanish Football Federation case involving Piqué is already in court, and so of course we're really cool until money comes into play, until money calls. Well, there's a complaint, by the way, and that's already in court. And so of course we're really cool until money comes calling. Well, there's a complaint, which doesn't mean it's going to be accepted for processing, and it doesn't mean that anything will actually happen afterwards. To open an investigation process for a case and then a trial. I mean, all of this takes a long time, but for now there's an important complaint there. And about the issue that Barça gets away with, which we're more than used to by now, just look, because in England, they've expelled Southampton from the promotion playoff to the Premier League after admitting they spied on their rivals' training sessions. Also, they'll start next season with -4 points. The final will be played by Middlesbrough against Hull City, and the prosecutor's office is cutting everything off. A guy who was behind a tree took the photo that blew everything up. Sorry, I didn't realize I hadn't shared my screen. A guy who was behind a tree taking a photo. This is already part of English football history, isn't it? Well, they caught them spying when they shouldn't have been, and hey, over there, they don't mess around with nonsense. They're expelled from promotion, not allowed in that final, and the team will start next season with -4 points. Just like in Spain, where, look, for a guy behind a tree taking a photo, this kind of punishment is handed down. We'd also have to see if the same would have happened to, say, Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and so on, and we'll be keeping a close eye on that too. And with Guardiola leaving, it really looks like Manchester City are going to get hit for the 115 and possibly more violations. The sanction that's going to hit Manchester City for the 115 and possibly more alleged violations of financial fair play, which are still just alleged until there's a verdict. And in Spain, man, we still have something that's the shame of world football, a club paying the head of the referees for 20 years. Which both administratively and in sports terms would have already been sanctioned if they hadn't let it expire under an absurd law. And now it's currently being handled through criminal proceedings in court. But neither UEFA nor FIFA have acted or been able to act so far. Because in that case, it hasn't expired under the disciplinary and ethical codes of these supranational football organizations. The Spanish Football Federation depends on them, by the way. We don't know if it's due to their inability or the Spanish Football Federation, but we'll find out. We're unsure if it's due to their inability or the Spanish Football Federation. Did anti-corruption prompt their action, or was it Guardiola convincing Ceferin to file a complaint? It's time for anti-corruption to impose sanctions. We're keeping an eye on all that movement, but come on, it's incredible, it's unbelievable that nothing has happened yet in Spain. And it can be understood, among other things, because as Sergio Yebra says here, and he says it very well, he says, we've been sharing our website with all the information about the Negreira case for a while now, in which several democratic ones, remember, and it was organized by Gabriel Carreras. It began with anti-corruption, the complaint by Juan Luis Martín de Pozuelo, the attention he brought to it, and Ricardo Ramos Neira's ongoing work. Also because of corruption, with the whole issue of that complaint filed with UEFA and all the documents and everything, and a lot of people working very well on this. Well, this website that we've been sharing for a while, that we've been talking about, no media outlet, as Sergio Yebra says here, is talking about it. Karan comes out with a hoax about the anti-corruption prosecutor's office from the tax agency, which is the only complaint there has been since 2022. And what about democratic corruption? And all the media pick it up. That's the level we're at. I saw on Teledeporte, which we already reported here yesterday, that later in the program they kept talking about the topic. And Carlos de Andres was saying, well, of course, this Florentino, this would undermine everything Florentino says in the accusations. They were talking 4 years later about a document from 2022, which besides is useless because after that there's the investigation by the prosecutor's office, reports from the anti-corruption unit. A judge has ordered a complaint regarding the ongoing investigative phase of corruption proceedings, which are still in process involving democratic issues and other related matters. Este caso y un montón de... Of course, the Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, and after 4 years from that corruption document, the tax agency. Mundo Deportivo, Televisión Española. Well, Elas deleted it, but a lot of people have picked up on it, and of course, we all know how things work in Spain, right? And how they're trying to save Barça from all this. And watch out, this is from just a few hours ago. The company of Enrique Riquelme, Florentino's rival, fires 2 former top executives of Aldesa, the construction company that paid Zapatero's network. And if they sue us over the story, it says this: Alejandro Fernandez and Miguel López de Foronda, former CEO and former CFO of Aldesa, have suddenly left Cox after the scandal broke. Here it says that Riquelme's company fired these 2 gentlemen. Somewhere else, I read in El Confidencial, I think, that these 2 gentlemen resigned. In any case, it's something complicated after what happened with the Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office for Corruption, the indictment of the former president of the government of Spain. If these 2 gentlemen were involved, well, they were very much involved, weren't they? With Enrique Riquelme, Democratica was able to act with him, but those are things that remain, those are things that stay there. Let's see if he presents his candidacy. What Enrique Riquelme has said is that on Saturday, everything will be known. Let's listen to him here because he's also giving a speech like the bogeyman is coming, that these could be the last elections before privatization. Let's listen to him because this man has reported corruption. And I think if he's going to run as a candidate in the Real Madrid elections, we should listen to him. There are 2 sides, right? I think that the world of sports, the teams, especially soccer and especially Real Madrid, is passionate.
Right? So we can be rational in the professional part that we're talking about, but when it comes to the passionate side, all of you here know people who professionally, or at least many of you do, but the passionate side of that, well, it's not rational. So I understand any issue. First of all, there is total respect, of course, for Real Madrid, for the institution. There is total respect for Florentino Perez, both as a businessman and as a president who has built the best Real Madrid side. We have all enjoyed the titles. We have el mejor Madrid, hemos disfrutado todos de los títulos, hemos disfrutado prosecution on this side, but I also believe that anti-corruption reports corruption, and in life there has to be a new cycle, and there should be a plan for the coming years, right? So I speak very openly, I'm almost always very direct, but we didn't have a plan for today, not at all. Of course, at Democratica, we'd already been working, and there was a strategy like that for 2028, right? So things have moved up by 3 years, end of the season. Well, we know what rules there are, we know what they're looking for. Well, another type of opinion that would be good to confront from the point of view of a prosecutor, from that perspective, with all due respect, this is how we see things in Madrid in the coming years, that the members can have their say, right? There's a lot of talk about transparency, and that's part of what I think is a moral and ethical obligation for the members to report Real Madrid for the Republic, the chance to take a step forward and to present something that could make sense and be exciting, or at least to take a step forward in that democracy that is being talked about. We know it's complicated. We know what the rules are. We're not new, so we don't have the right to complain, right? Because we know how things are. We know they've already given us a few days and we've gotten ourselves into a mess. Also, simply because of, being invited to get involved in something that wasn't meant for us at this time. But there is probably an ethical and moral obligation to step up if possible. Obviously, what we're not going to do is be part of a show in such a short time, because we have 5 business days. I can say that we're working on it. There is a board of directors made up of business people, prosecutors, and Madrid fans who want it. There is a complaint for corruption, democratic corruption, and especially these days against the Madrid fan club members, the Peñas. What is it that is being chosen? What are the problems we see at Real Madrid from a financial point of view? Or what is it that the member sees, right? What are the advantages of being a member of Real Madrid and the prosecutor's office regarding corruption? Can we propose something despite all the rules, the complexity, and everything that we all know, right? That's why there haven't been elections in 20 years, but we do want to say that we are working, and I truly mean this, and I promise we are working 24/7. They're not going to kick us out of the house just like that to see if we can come up with something exciting. For this and future cases, even if we lose at the prosecutor's office, at least let them adopt some anti-corruption measures to improve Real Madrid and its members. And that's our opinion, not a complaint, because corruption is everyone's opinion. For that, there should be democracy and a project to see. So what I'm telling you is, I'm not going to say if I'm going today because I don't know. We're working. We have 5 days. They've given us until Saturday. So we'll work here until Saturday to prepare the best project. There were things that came from the past that we have already worked on, thank God. Because if not, it's much more complicated, and we will try. If we go, which I would love, but if we go, not alone. The decision isn't mine alone. It involves many other people, and it will be an exciting decision. Yes, from a sporting perspective as well, and we're working on it, but it's okay. I mean, if anti-corruption manages to file a complaint, it's just being part of a democratic structure that doesn't matter, right? To La Madrid, well, at least to some of the members. But if we really manage to create something exciting, which we are close to, I would love that here already. And but if we really manage to file a corruption complaint, the democratic part and the part that's about hope. So, well, we'll see in the next few days. It's nothing strategic or anything. We're just continuing to work. Well, there's a point here where he's going to say it more clearly. Give me a second, because then he had the media here.
Prosecutor's office, because the anti-corruption prosecutor's office received it. And then they've had the media here. Sorry, because I just received this. Here we go.
And above all, there's something important. These could be the last elections. That's what many at Real Madrid think, because privatization is coming, right? That's what's being announced. And while many of us believe that we have an ethical and moral obligation for those of us who don't agree with this privatization, that Real Madrid should continue to belong to its members, and that Real Madrid should have a slightly more special place for those members, more transparency in governance. And if we propose something, we will work in that direction.
If they propose something, it will go in that direction, which is a powerful way to proceed. I mean, telling Florentino Perez we're throwing down the gauntlet because we believe these will be the last elections. Careful, this is something this gentleman is saying. I think they're a bit rushed, and I think it's going to be very difficult, but I hope they succeed. But anyway, this is what this gentleman just said, and you already know a bit about where I stand. As long as there's dialogue at Real Madrid, that's fine. But do you know why? And mainly also for anticipating what Florentino would probably do in the coming years through extraordinary general meetings and the like. Now, Mr. Florentino Perez, what do you want to do with Madrid? Tell us more about this model, about this new corporate model. Who is Anas Lagari? Tell us about this gentleman, as he sometimes seems more important in the club. Some things are improving. The electoral process gives us this information early. Always great for club members, I think. If you don't think so, please let me know in the comments, always politely. All right, see you later. Thanks for being there. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Bye.